bring Jimmy Kempski in from PhillyVoice.com. As the Eagles are back, there's always something there, Kempski, isn't there?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? Sorry about that, by the way.
That's all right. And it gave me a good opportunity to kind of look into – I was listening to that press conference today, and I listened to Shermer yesterday, a volunteer that Murray had been not as healthy earlier in the year. I don't know who asked the question today, but Kelly looked at that guy as if he wanted to kill the man and said, Murray hurt? I don't know what you're talking about. Is that a beginning to become more and more of like, do these guys even have conversations in the hallways together? I mean, how can two guys give you answers so far apart?
Well, that's the most interesting thing that Shermer has said all year. So let's just take that right off the bat. But yeah, he said that DeMarco was feeling better now than he was week 2, and then a reporter immediately called him on that, saying, "Well, that's not what we were told week 2." And Shermer kind of tried to correct himself and said something to the effect of, "Well, I'm not injured and I feel better now than I did week 2." So like he tried to kind of correct himself in a very feeble way. And then, like you mentioned, Chip was asked that same question again now that we know that DeMarco wasn't 100% back in week 2. And like you said, he kind of played it off as if like, what are you talking about? And then a reporter said, well, yesterday Shermer said that he was feeling better than he did week 2. And, it's no secret that the Eagles try to, keep injuries under wraps. And, that's not really a surprise. But, certainly when reporters are going to have access to, the coaches and the offensive coordinators every week at some point, they're going to slip up and you're going to find out that they're not always entirely 100% forthcoming with their answers. So, I mean, it's really not that big a deal. But yeah, clearly I think DeMarco was probably not 100% like they said he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, and obviously, I don't know if it's as much whether he was or was not, more so that here's the two coaches on the same staff, and yet again, it goes back to do you tell Deuce? Can you tell Deuce who goes in the game? Can you not tell Deuce? I know Shermer said yesterday there was another instance where Shermer's like, well, it's not quite like that. It seemed like, again, they were not on the same page where Kelly's like, I don't tell Deuce anything. He's all free to do whatever he wants, and Shermer was kind of like, that's not really the case.
Well, I'm sure with however they handle those kind of things, they're all on the same page in terms of what's going on during the game or, how they want to approach that type of thing. I just don't think they're always on the same page with how they communicate that with us or, what they want to leave out and what's acceptable to say to us. But I would think that they're on the same page in terms of.
But doesn't that make them look? Doesn't that make, like, one of the things that I've been kind of talking about, Jimmy, is at this record being 3-4, is one of the main reasons is, sure, there's the quarterback play and drops and yada yada, but the lack of attention to detail with this team, the penalties and the mistakes and the drops, that's like a lack of attention to detail. Doesn't what we're talking about kind of lend it to being a lack of attention to detail that makes them look bad, that they can't even get their story straight, even though, that might not be important to them?
Yeah, maybe. I can certainly see some logic in that. Really, I think the biggest thing with the lack of being able to get into a rhythm and issues that they've had in terms of miscommunications with, players running routes that Sam Bradford thought they were going to, he thought that, the players were going to run this route, they ran something else. There's been some of that going on this year. And really what I attribute that most to is the amount of continuity that they have on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at the defense, you look at that front seven, everyone on that front seven has been with the team since Chip Kelly and Billy Davis took over as the head coach and defensive coordinator of the team, with the exception of Jordan Hicks, of course, who is a rookie this year. But that front seven has been together for the entirety of the head of the coaching staff's tenure here. And then on the back end has played a little bit better. So you have a lot of continuity there on that front seven. Everyone knows what they're doing. And because everyone knows what they're doing, they've been able to sort of expand their playbook defensively and get into a little bit more things, show some more exotic looks. They're better at their stunts and their twists and their things of that nature where, really back when they first started out, the focus was just on two-gapping and getting that down. Now that's second nature, and you start to build on that. And the defense really has been a lot better this year, obviously, they were bad in 2013, 2014, and then this year they've just been really good. Now, conversely, you look at the offensive side of the ball, you turn over your quarterback, you turn over your running back, you turn over a few of your receivers, you turn over, you have two entirely new starting guards on the offensive line, and you're going to have, those kinds of communication errors, and you're going to have those just mental errors, and you're going to have, a lot of the guys not on the same page all the time when you do have that much turnover in one off season on the offense. So I think that's maybe the bigger thing than what they kind of say in these press conferences and how they kind of slip up with one coach saying one thing to us and then another coach saying something different to us. I really think it's more just about the continuity on each side of the ball, and you can kind of see the difference between the defense and the offense, with the defense having great continuity and the offense almost none at all.
Jimmy Kempski's with us, PhillyVoice.com, Eagles, Cowboys, and a lot of things here that start with some of the injury stuff, too. Jason Peters, typically for Chip, Wednesday, Thursday, if you don't practice, you're not playing. Now, he seemed to keep the window open that they'll make a decision on Saturday. Is that because it is Jason Peters, or is that just him basically trying to say, well, we don't want to say he's out just yet?
I would lean toward him being out. I don't know that for sure. But you're right. If a player doesn't practice all week, then typically they won't be part of the game plan. I don't know how much that really matters in the case of a guy like Jason Peters, who's going to play left tackle, and you know what he is over there. And he's been in the league so long that he doesn't necessarily really need to practice he doesn't necessarily have to have a full week of practice, rather, leading up to a game. So I don't really know if that's a big deal for him. And with the injury that he has, which is back spasms, I spoke with a doctor last week about back spasms and how you come back from that, and is that the kind of thing that can linger and that kind of stuff. And the thing with back spasms is the more rest you can possibly get, the better. He was said that, it's very fortunate for the Eagles that he got that injury before the bye week, so he can come in and get treatment every day, and, be able to rest it up and possibly be ready to go for the Dallas game. But again, like I said, it's really all about getting as much rest as you possibly can. So they may just be, holding that he can kind of be ready to go for when game day comes. But from my perspective, it doesn't look like he's going to be ready. And again, that's just a complete and total guess at this point. If he can't go, they've already, Lane Johnson's been working at left tackle for the entirety of the week, and Dennis Kelly would fill in at right tackle. So you have a line of Johnson, Barber, Kelsey, Matt Tobin, and Dennis Kelly from left to right if Jason Peters cannot go.
Yikes. All right, we know this Dallas defense with Hardy, different from the first time, and the Eagles really struggled against them the first time they played. I know that the Eagles' run game has been better since that first time, and the Eagles' offensive line talked a little bit about how that first time they played that they were really embarrassed and frustrated about it. But has the line gelled a little bit better from that first time? Are they a better unit than the one we saw back in Week 2?
Yeah, hard to be worse. It's really is hard to be worse than what they were Week 2 against Dallas. I mean, they were just blowing up everything, and I mean the way that the Dallas defensive line was Eagles backfield regularly, and DeMarco Murray had, so I think on the game the entire team had 7 total rushing yards on like 17 carries. So that was, and when the Eagles can't run the ball, I mean that's it. Like if Sam Bradford is going to have to carry you and put the team on his shoulders and win a game, I don't think you're going to win too many games in those situations. So they need to be better running the ball, and I think they have been. I think they were better immediately, really, after that game. You saw Week 3 against the Jets. They came out, and against a very talented Jets defense, they ran the ball much more effectively. So as the season has progressed, they've gotten better. But again, like I said, it's really hard to be much worse than what they were Week 2.
Jimmy Kempski, PhillyVoice.com. There's a lot on the line in this game. Maybe not for the fact that mathematically, but if Dallas is to lose this game, I mean they'd be 0-6 without Romo. They have to play another week without him next week. Hope to get him back in Week 11. Do you think the Eagles sense that this is a pretty big opportunity for them, not only to get themselves rolling, but to really knock Dallas down another big peg with a win on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think they recognize that. I mean, and I think the way that you put that is the right way when you said it's an opportunity. Whereas in previous games this season, it was more about survival, where they really kind of had to win, or they'd be really kind of buried themselves And in some of those games, they came out and played well and won. And this week a chance to not to, it's not really a survival mode type of game. It's it's an aggressive hunter kind of, you have a chance to bury a team kind of game. And they're 3-4. If they go to 3-5, then their playoff chances are going to take a hit. But the only team ahead of them right now is the New York Giants, who look to have a historically bad defense. That defense is on pace to give up over 6,800 yards this season, which would be second worst in the NFL all time. So you're looking at a team that's leading the division right now that really isn't talented at all defensively. And the other two teams in the division, you have the Redskins, of course, who are the Redskins at 3-4, and then you have the Cowboys sitting there at 2-5, and they're going to be missing Romo for this week, and they're going to be missing Romo at least at a minimum next week as well. So, yeah, you go to 2-6, and there hasn't been a team that has made the playoffs. I forget the cutoff date. It might have been 1990. There's a study by 538.com. No team since 1990 that started 2-6 has made the playoffs. Now, if there was going to be a team that could make the playoffs at 2-6, it would be this Dallas team, who is going to eventually get Tony Romo back, and you have what is really just crappy teams up and down the division. So, like, if there is a team that can come back from 2-6 deficit, it would be the Dallas Cowboys. But still, that's going to be an extremely difficult thing for them to do if the Eagles can pull out this game.
I know in the literal sense, how big of a week is this for Sam Bradford? But if he plays poorly again, I'm sure questions are going to continue. Or are they, in your opinion, committed to him for the full season?
Yeah. I don't think this week will do it. At some point, if he just continues to play poorly and they still have a chance to win the division, then at some point I would think that they're going to have to pull the trigger and go to Mark Sanchez. But, I think they're pretty committed to him. And really it's just based on the belief that if they need him to kind of be what they thought he would be when they traded for him and paid him a lot of money and, gave up draft picks and whatever else, all the resources they put toward acquiring him, based on the hope that he could kind of be the special player that a lot of people thought he was going to be when he came out of college out of Oklahoma, 5 years back. So, I think for them to, if they think they're going to do something special, they need him to do that. I don't think they think that, Sanchez is the guy that can kind of bring them to the Super Bowl, which obviously is the ultimate goal. Super Bowl talk at 3-4, of course, is kind of ridiculous at this point. But, I think that's kind of the mindset, is he's the guy that can kind of make things go that way if he is able to turn it around. But I'm kind of pessimistic that that'll happen.
Yeah, no, why I was supportive of the trade, I was, I didn't have a problem with it. He has been disappointing. But is it as simple, can I say, well, if they just would make some catches on these third downs, that things in our perception of him would be a lot different? Is it as simple to say, you know what, he's not playing great, he hasn't made the greatest throws, but if some of these catches are made and some of these third downs turn into first downs and some of these red zone catches turn into touchdowns, that we're not as negative on him as we seem like we've been? Obviously, some of his throws are the reasons why these are happening, but if he's getting the help that, that you're hoping for and that is there, is it as simple as that things can turn around if they just make those changes, even if he plays status quo?
Yeah, if the receivers are playing really good football, certainly Bradford's performances are going to look better than they have. I think that a number of the drops that have occurred have, certainly they've been plays that the wide receivers should have made, but I don't think that the receivers are helping out Bradford. At the same time, I don't think Bradford is really helping out his receivers all that much. So it kind of goes both ways in that regard. But, as you mentioned, there's been a ton of drops. The receiver play this season has really just been awful. I believe they lead the league in drops. I don't know. I mean, there's really no official number for how many drops they have. It's such a subjective kind of thing. But, Jordan Matthews has had a bunch. Josh Huff has had a bunch. Riley Cooper, I believe, has had a few. I know Miles Austin has had some. Zach Ertz has had some. The running backs, especially Ryan Matthews, have certainly had some. Derek Sproles has had some key ones. Really, I can just name guys on the roster, and I can pretty much name anyone, and they've had a drop. So, I mean, I agree. I mean, certainly if the wide receivers and the tight ends and the running backs have made more plays for Sam Bradford, then it wouldn't look as bad. as it has. But even if they did make those plays, I really don't think that his play has been very good at all, and certainly disappointing no matter how you look at it.
No doubt, and obviously, as you mentioned, we don't know what to drop. We don't know what to catch half the time either in the NFL.
Right, legally, yes.
Sunday night football, Eagles and Cowboys, and right now 3-4 against 2-5, the primetime game here. But it shows that these two teams still have a lot of interest around the league, even when it's a dumpster fire facing off against a team who's been really it's amazing. It's amazing, but that has been the league. The league has been really hard to watch with the penalties and it's all over the place. So we'll see Sunday night who can get their season on the right track here, I guess. If Philadelphia wins, you feel a little bit better. Dallas gets Romo back in 2 weeks. I guess this can kickstart things for them. Jimmy Kempski over at PhillyVoice.com for more on this Eagles-Cowboys matchup. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.